What is going on, guys? And welcome to episode 48. I am your host, Marcus. And in this episode, we are talking about what are your insecurities? And this is something that we all battle and something that always seems to come up every single day are insecurities in realizing what we're dealing with on a daily basis and trying to overcome those things. And it's funny because I started looking at some of my different analytics for YouTube, coming up with a topic. And one of the biggest videos I have is I feel stupid or I feel dumb is one of the ones that gets one of the videos that I have that has a lot of views. And I know a lot of different times we feel like we are just not smart enough. We're just not getting it. And so the insecurity of thinking that we can't get to where we want to go because we feel like we're not smart enough. We feel like we're not that person. Because a lot of times we'll reflect on somebody that is perhaps where we want to be and look at the difference in them and in us and compare ourselves. This is why comparison is something that you shouldn't be ever doing because of the fact that they have worked internally on themselves through alternate means to get to where they're at. And for us, we haven't attempted that and felt like it just wasn't us. A lot of times we feel like we're just an imposter because we have no reference point to where we are successful in wherever we're trying to go. And whatever the case is, whether that's a career or whether that's in your health or business, a book, or whatever the case is, it's always comes back to that insecurity of, am I really capable of achieving this thing? And even for myself, throughout the years, I've had different insecurities, and I felt like it's always challenged me to want to do more. And initially, it wasn't that way. I think a lot of us, some people are put in different situations at earlier ages to where you're challenged more. Like I was challenged to adapt more because I moved so much. And so a lot of the different insecurities I had about my weight, about interacting with people, about talking and all these other different things, being an introvert and all that stuff, it was hard for me to get out of that. But when I realized that I started moving so much, at one point, I was moving, I think, every couple months. And then this was just in high school. And then at that point, I went into the military. And so I was moving all the time. So I learned that I needed to adjust quickly and realize that, this was where my growth was, and realize that my insecurities, right? You realize that everybody has the same insecurities. Everybody, feels like they are an imposter. Everybody feels that there's no way they can achieve specific things in their life because they have no reference point to being successful in whatever it is that they're trying to go for. And that is the hardest thing to build in yourself and to push yourself to be able to see enough progress that you continue going forward. And a lot of different times, something I talk about just in society in general, they always want to paint a picture that there's something wrong with you. And if you don't disconnect essentially from the masses, from media, and start just working on yourself and realizing that you are more than capable, that you don't need the next greatest pill to come out, or you don't need the next greatest fad diet to come out, or you don't need the next greatest X, Y, or Z just to feel better, that you are more than capable to achieve those things. And so in saying that, when you start thinking about insecurities, you really have to push yourself to do the different things. You really have to push yourself to put yourself out there. Maybe you feel insecure in conversations. It's something you just lack practice in. It's not that you're insufficient. It's just that you have a lack of practice is all it is. And a lot of people, they have certain traits or skills that you want because they have they have been through that gauntlet and they've gotten there and they've achieved it. Even at young ages, right? We're programmed a certain way. If at a young age you weren't socialized, which when I was younger, I was never really socialized. So when I got older, it was awkward for me to be social a lot of the different times. And so if you are socialized at a younger age, when you grow up, you're more apt to go out and talk about specific things. And so you realize that you become more social that way. And that if you are an introvert and just don't talk, that you have to push yourself more when you're older, because it's a lot harder to rewire yourself when you get older, because your body doesn't want to make changes, right? It wants to have a very much routine. This is why routine is so big when you're trying to make change in your life. But when you get older, you realize that you're fighting against the grain, essentially, because you're fighting against your body and your mind and its normal routine. And it's something that doesn't go away. It's something you have to maintain to be able to keep those things. And so when you see people like athletes or artists or anything like that, you have to put in a lot of effort. And it's easier just to think, oh, well, society has told me that they cheated their way to get to where they are, when in fact they have not. They've just put in so much work and they maintain that. And a lot of times maybe you have a reference point and you saw that it didn't take much for you to stop maintaining it and losing whatever that thing was. And so you have to build up whoever you want to become again. And it's starting from scratch, because you've perhaps had some kind of leeway in between, and realizing that once you catch momentum, as hard as it is to catch momentum, once you get the momentum, it's easier to maintain the momentum. But if you drop the ball, then you're going to lose the momentum. It is starting from scratch. So when you're starting to look, again, for myself, like a lot of insecurities, being overweight and being bullied and fighting all through high school, or not through high school, but through essentially elementary school, middle school, right? Realizing that at that point, I had a lot of insecurities. I wasn't felt accepted, because I felt like I was just an outcast because of who I was. And that had nothing to do with the person that I was. And so being said, right, like I've come from that one mentality. And so I've always felt like I've had to work. And I've always felt like in that way I could show people I had value is through my work. And that was one of the things through my work ethic, which is something my father taught me very well growing up, is to put in hard work all the time. That you see the results through your work, not through your words. And for myself, it was always very hard to do that. And even now, right, even today, this was also something I was thinking about, was I made this TikTok video about essentially talking about, not just throwing your opinion on people, and being more observant of what people are telling you, listen more. And it's something I had to remind myself, because sometimes I find like I get in these modes where I'm motivated to do something, and it's easier just to tell than it is to show a lot of different times. And you can fall into this bad habit, as opposed to listening and giving people really what they want. And so when you're thinking about making change, right? Making change is always about what you can do internally. And to see the change that you want outside, externally, you have to make the changes internally first. And so when you're looking at things like insecurities, you have to accept what you have, right? Like there's certain things I don't think you could change. Like you have specific things about yourself. Like because of my experiences, it's got me here, right? Without those experiences, I would have been a completely different person, right? There's that butterfly effect that happens in your life. There's a reason why you've made it to this point, and there's reasons why you believe specific things. There's reasons why you do specific things because of what has happened in your past. That doesn't define who you are, But on the same token, we have to realize that a lot of the thinking, because we learn upon different experiences and we build upon them. And so this helps us stop from making old errors again, right? Is by reliving those moments in life where we messed up and realizing that that is just an experience to help build out my character today. And so when you start looking at insecurities, realizing that it's okay, right, to have to not be perfect. We're not perfect, and we see a lot of this is perfect, what a perfect person is, and we think that that's what life is supposed to be like, because this picture is painted around us essentially almost 24/7 in everything you look at, your media feeds, TV, books, right, or anywhere else you go, right? Even through the schooling system is the same way, that you're going to go to work and you're going to do these things and you're going to work for 60 years and you're going to have a retirement and it's all going to be beautiful and all these things, right? They paint this picture and then you live it and it doesn't seem that way. And so a lot of different times you feel unfulfilled, because a lot of times you're not essentially fulfilling a purpose. You're just doing what you're told. You're following along. And a lot of times we like to live in this aspect where we want to be to have someone to lead us, right? This is something that is very natural. There are many studies done about this, about how we want to be led as opposed to being leading, because we don't want to take the responsibility of leading. And a lot of times, if we don't take the responsibility of our own lives, that we won't be able to achieve the things that we want, because we are waiting for someone to lead us and realize that that leader is never there. And this is really that aha moment I've really had early in my life, and more emphasized later in my life, is that, you know, you can get only so far, right, by let other people lead you. Then you realize that you become very miserable because you're not living where you want to be at. And so when you break away from that and you start thinking for your own, taking responsibility, but I think when you start talking about the responsibility, a lot of times, you know, I think people get misunderstood when you take on that responsibility, and a lot of people will judge you because you're essentially going away from what the popular opinion is about something. And so realizing that, okay, well, you know, I have to take my own lead in my life. I have to have an active role in my life to be able to make changes. And to do that, right, the insecurities I have about myself, I have to realize that we all start from a reference point of zero, no matter what it is that we're starting. And yes, you will feel like, you know, you don't belong until you make it to where you feel like you belong. But if you have to realize that to be in that spot, you have to determine, you have to pick where you want to go. Don't base your decisions on what society is trying to drive you to do. That you need to have that house, you need to have that car, you need to have X, Y, and Z to be able to achieve the things that they think you need in your life. And you may not at all feel that way. A lot of times, I think a lot of us, we get to this point and we realize that we do have the emptiness inside us, because we have that insecurity that we don't want to be against everybody. I'm not saying go against everybody, because there are a lot of people that are like you. It's just finding those people that are like you in creating the environment that all those people think the same way you do. And luckily that requires that you can go online and find groups of the like-minded people and work with them. And they understand, they have a familiarity with those things, those challenges that you have, those insecurities that you have, and how they've overcome them and what they've helped to do to become what they want to become. Because a lot of times we can blame it on being introverted. I am the biggest introvert, yet I make videos like every other day and I run like a bunch of different channels. And for me, again, you would ask me that 5 years ago, I would have told you there's no way I would do something like that, because I was insecure about putting myself out there. What would people think? And yes, people could think, say, and judge, but a lot of times those people that do that are upset by the choices that they have made in their lives, and they haven't changed to make the change that they want in their lives. Again, those people, the people that have done more than you, they won't judge you for going out and being different, because they know what it takes. The people that want to sit on the sideline and judge you from the sideline are the people that won't take the action, that won't make the changes. But it's easier to sit and drown yourself in the insecurities that you have. You don't have to worry about what other people are thinking, because when you base decisions on your life about what other people think, you're not living your own life. You're living somebody else's life. And then you wonder where your life has gone. Then this makes us so reliant on other things. It makes us consumers. This is why we start having bad eating habits, because we don't enjoy where we're at. This is because why we put so much strain on our relationships in our life and become needy, because we don't know who we are, because we are waiting for the lead. This is why we have so many insecurities, because we are waiting for the lead, when in fact, you need to lead yourself. And as much as we don't want to do that, as much as we don't want the responsibility, we have to do that. You want to really make change and overcome insecurities in your life, you have to take the lead in your life and realize that these insecurities are most of the time just figments of your imagination. You may think you're bad at something when in fact you're not, when in fact you might actually be really good, because of this thought process that you have and the way a lot of us have grown up, and we realize that you aren't going to have the things that you want in your life by sitting in the back seat, by wishing and hoping they don't happen that way. And this is why so many people buy lottery tickets. This is why so many people, try the easy way, because you're trying to be sold an easy way to make it. People feed off your insecurities. When you realize that we are not perfect, I'm going to make mistakes, but I can learn, I can do better tomorrow. You just continue to do better each and every day. I'll do better than yesterday. That's all you have to look. I just got to do better than yesterday. Not I got to get to this point because I see this person and that's where I want to be. And I feel so down on myself because I'm not there. Maybe I'm 40 and I should have all this stuff and I don't have it. Maybe I am 25 and I think, everybody else has got their life figured out when they don't. Nobody does. At 40, there's still major changes that you make. And it continues to change. Your insecurities continue to change with the new perspectives that you gain, with the new knowledge that you gain, with the expanding of your comfort zone. You realize that you come across new insecurities. And some of those insecurities that you tuck deep down inside and hope nobody sees, one day, if you continue to expand, they come up. And you're taken off by that. But then you get it out there, and as much as you've kind of just locked away inside your brain and you don't want other people to know about it, you realize that when it comes out to the surface, people don't care. Like, oh, that's okay. I have the same issue. And then you realize that it's okay. I don't have to hold myself back anymore. Why are you holding yourself back? It's a psychological game you play with yourself, and you hold yourself back from doing a lot of different things because you believe that you aren't capable of, or you don't want the responsibility to lead yourself. I understand it's so much easier for someone to take the hits, for someone to tell you, hey, do this, do that. And we look for the steps. Yes, they're tools that help, but to have everything written out that this is a step that's going to get you from A to B, it just does not work that way. So you have insecurities about perhaps your intelligence. Just read more. I'm telling you, read more, learn more on your own. You have to realize that outside of things like school, right? I've learned more outside of school than I've ever learned in all the years of college that I've had. But it took me to take the lead. The insecurity, I felt like I wasn't smart enough. Now I think sometimes I just try to commit to things and try to learn too much. And then a lot of times I feel when threatened on those insecurities, what I end up doing is I start throwing out information. Maybe not maybe at a more subconscious level, as opposed to actually being aware that I'm doing it. And then actually stepping back and saying, whoa, wait, yes, I know a lot, but the thing is I need to reframe myself and realize that I shouldn't be pressing knowledge as opposed to trying to always keep learning, and be prideful that I have that desire to want to do that now. The one thing that once was an insecurity is actually making me stronger and allowing me to enjoy life, because I really have obtained some great knowledge and know that I'm always learning, that it just doesn't stop. And by that, this allows me to make an insecurity something I'm actually proud of now. And yes, is that insecure part still there? Yes, it can be. It can still show its face there, right? If I neglect and not maintain that level of education for myself to do better, to become the best version of myself, I realize that I start neglecting, and then I start allowing the insecurity to take over my life and run my life, because I need a lead. And if I don't lead myself, if somebody else doesn't, or if somebody else doesn't lead me, my insecurity will lead the direction of my life. This is why it's important to step in front and be aware of the fact, yes, I have an insecurity, but I'm still taking control of the direction that I want to go, and making that what it needs to be. So insecurities are, yes, we're scared. We're scared to be exposed. But when you realize there's nothing to really be scared of, to remind yourself that everybody has insecurities. Everybody has a lot of the same insecurities about not looking smart. That's something that society is essentially pushed upon us as well. That you need to know. Why don't you know? Well, given my walk of life, it was just never taught to me. What's so wrong with that? What's so wrong with the fact that our education levels are different because I came from a different walk of life? I could be coming on another side of the world where I don't get exposed to as much education as you have. You shouldn't think that insecurity is the way of the rest of your life. Don't let it take the lead in your life. Walk away knowing that's insecurity, but you know what? I'm thankful for it, for me, because it's giving me the drive to want to learn more. And with that knowledge, I have been able to expand into multiple different things that have really brought a lot of joy into my life. If I just use that insecurity that I wasn't smart enough and just gave up, right? Who knows where I would be at that point? Who knows if I would have ever took any action on anything, if that insecurity ran my life, if it led my life. And sometimes it takes a brave moment, just a brave moment to overcome that insecurity, to show yourself what really matters, to show yourself, give yourself a reference point to realize that I can achieve this. This thing that I thought was something that was bad is actually something that is very good. Accept that and take the right actions, and you'll realize that your insecurity is your power.